My parents wiped out my childhood bedroom and tried to take over my business right in front of everyone. That's when my grandma spoke up and said, "Your golden boy has been embezzling." There's a special kind of pain that comes from being the black sheep, but nothing prepares you for the moment you realize your own family is actively plotting your downfall, complete with PowerPoint presentations and salary charts. It was a betrayal so deep, it changed everything. You know, growing up as the disappointment in a privileged family, it makes you really good at being invisible. The rich aren't invisible to the world, but inside their own circles, if you don't fit the mold, you might as well be a ghost. You learn to show up for holidays, to smile when it's expected, and to just accept that your parents will never look at you with the same adoring gaze they reserve for your golden kid sister. I'm 31 years old, and for the past 7 years, I've been pouring my heart and soul into manufacturing handmade furniture. My workshop is in Red Bank, New Jersey. We're talking high-end stuff here. Tables that cost more than some people's cars, chairs that take 4 months to complete. Every single joint has to be perfect, every finish absolutely flawless. It's the kind of work that demands time, precision, and genuine expertise. Just last month, I delivered a conference table to a hedge fund in Greenwich. The guy paid $32,000 without even blinking, and his wife? She actually cried when she saw it. Real tears. Meanwhile, my own parents? They thought I was just doing arts and crafts. They absolutely hated what I did. Every Thanksgiving for the past 6 years, my dad would ask, "When are you going to get serious?" And for every birthday, my mom would send me job postings for property management companies. See, they run a commercial real estate business in Bergen County, a business that's been in the family for 33 years. My older brother, Grant, he's the VP of acquisitions there. My younger sister, Harper, she handles investor relations. Grant was the literal golden child. Mom even has a framed photo of him shaking hands with the governor in the main living room. My photo? That's relegated to the hallway bathroom. I was the guy who worked with his hands, like some kind of peasant. So, 5 days before Christmas, I drove up to the family estate in Saddle River. You know, the big colonial with the circular driveway. I wanted to get there early this year, really help with the setup. I guess I had this stupid hope that maybe, just maybe, I could finally establish that I belonged at that table, instead of just being tolerated. Crazy, right? Despite everything, I still believed family was important. Our housekeeper of 20 years, she opened the door. Honestly, she was the only one in that house who actually smiled when she saw me. "Whitaker, nice to see you," she said. "Hey, they're upstairs." She paused, looked behind her, and whispered, "Yeah." Inside, Mom and Harper had spreadsheets spread across the coffee table like they were planning a hostile takeover. "Hey, I'm here," I announced. Mom barely glanced up. "Leave your coat in the hallway. Don't touch the decorations. The staging company is coming back tomorrow." Harper just gave a brief nod. "Oh, good. You arrived early." She added, "Remember when he used to help set up? Every time the furniture was moved, it was done incorrectly." Scratched Mom's antique credenza. It was so dismissive, so patronizing. Like I was a child, completely incapable of basic tasks. Things started to get really weird when I went upstairs to use the bathroom. My old room, the one I'd had since I was 8, had someone else's luggage outside the door. Turns out it was for one of Mom's investment friends, someone staying over. When I stepped inside, every personal thing I'd left there was gone. Photos, books, tools, all pushed into plastic storage boxes and crammed in a corner, like trash waiting for pickup. "Mom," I called out. No response. I headed toward Dad's office to ask about my room. The door was halfway open, and that's when I heard my name and froze. "Slides after dessert," Dad said, calm and businesslike. "Keep it brief. No argument." I pressed myself against the wall, barely breathing. Then, Grant's voice. "Put the salary chart on the TV right after Dad finishes the introduction. He won't be able to say no in front of everyone." That's all I heard. Just bits, but those bits were enough. "Mom, once he's in, we combine his shop with ours. Control the client list." My pulse hammered. I took a step back, my mind reeling. I tiptoed to the printer room at the end of the corridor. There was a stack of handouts in the tray, still warm. Whitaker's career path. I grabbed one and flipped through it. Charts comparing furniture maker incomes to corporate roles. My name was there, in bullet points, under the heading Intervention Strategy. They'd even created a PowerPoint slide titled Objection Handling. They'd assign tasks too. Mom was supposed to soothe me once I'd regained consciousness. Harper would treat social media optics as if I were some kind of PR problem to be managed. $52,000. That's what they assumed I made. I pulled in $165,000 last year, but they never asked, never verified, never even bothered to check. I grabbed one sheet, then another, as evidence. Then I just walked out of the house without saying a word, got into my pickup and drove. I wasn't sobbing, I wasn't panicking, I wasn't even planning yet. Just driving. I watched the security gate close behind me in my rearview mirror. 20 years. 20 years of trying to prove myself to people who had already decided I wasn't worth their time. Done. By the time I hit a rest stop on the Garden State Parkway, I'd made 4 decisions. First, I was going to that dinner. Second, I was going to let them spring their trap. Third, I was going to detonate it in their faces, in front of everyone. Fourth, I was going to do it quietly. They wanted a spectacle? I'd give them a show. I called Mason, my best friend from college, the guy who'd helped me set up my workshop. He answered quickly. Hey, what's up? I just discovered my whole family's plan to disgrace me at Christmas dinner. I told him. PowerPoint presentation, printed handouts, everything. There was a long silence on the other end. Are you joking? He finally asked. I have pictures, I said. Where are you? He asked. Parkway rest stop. I'm heading back to Red Bank. What are you going to do? Mason asked. Show up. Let them think they have me cornered. Then blow it up in front of everyone. But I need ammo. Real numbers. Proof that everything they believe about me is dead wrong. Mason was quiet for a second. Come to my apartment. We'll build your counterattack. Mason lived in Asbury Park, in a converted warehouse loft he'd restored himself. When I arrived, he already had coffee brewing and his laptop open. Talk, he said, handing me a mug. Those complete jerks, he finally remarked. All right, you're going to that dinner, but you're going prepared. That's the plan, I said. Good. What do you need? Financial statements, tax records, client lists, anything that shows I'm not the failure they think I am. They're coming at me with bogus figures. I'll bury them with real ones. Mason nodded slowly. We can put together a package tonight. Print everything. You walk in with receipts. We spent the next 4 hours creating it all. Tax returns showing $165,000 income. Bank documents with consistent deposits. Client testimonials I'd saved over the years. Pictures of completed pieces in clients' homes. A portfolio demonstrating that I wasn't just messing around. I was running a successful business without their help, their money, or their approval. Mason even looked up their company's public filings. Dude, he whistled. Their accounts receivable are a catastrophe. They've been bleeding clients for 2 years. Your brother didn't just take from them. He sabotaged the entire enterprise while he was at it. Mason even helped me practice what to say when they started their presentation, how to time the reveal for maximum effect, and where to stand so everyone could see me when I brought out my packet. This is solid, Mason stated, reviewing the final package. They show their bogus numbers. You show your genuine ones. In front of everyone. Checkmate. Perfect, I said. After we finished, I made the phone call I'd been putting off. The one that could change everything. Hello, Grandma. Whitaker, she said, surprised. Her tone was kind, but guarded. Is everything all right? Not quite, I told her. I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen. I told her everything. The presentation, the fabricated wage figures, the plot to coerce me into the firm. When I finished, she was silent for a long time. Your father called me yesterday asking for a substantial loan, she eventually remarked. When I probed him about why, he became evasive. Now I understand. Her voice hardened. Grant has stolen from them, hasn't he? That's what this is all about. My stomach sank. How do you know? I asked. I've suspected for months. When Richard discussed the business, the numbers never added up. She paused. To make up for their losses, they plan to attack you and seize your business. Appalling. I'm going to dinner, Grandma, I said. I'm going to let them do their little intervention, and then I'm going to reveal everything in front of the entire family. Another pause. Then, good. And I will be there to back you up. You will? I asked. Absolutely. It's time to hold them accountable. Her voice was like iron. Do not take any calls from them before dinner. Let them believe everything is normal. And Whitaker, do not hold back. I won't, I promised. We hung up. I had my ammo. I had an ally. Now, I just had to wait. I spent Christmas Eve in my workshop, finishing a commission, trying to stay calm. My phone kept buzzing. Mom calling. Dad calling. I ignored it all. Let them ponder. Let them sweat. That evening, I drove back up to Saddle River, parked in the circular driveway, and walked inside as if nothing had happened. The house was full. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends. The annual Whitaker Christmas dinner was in full swing. Mom noticed me first. Relief flooded her face. "Whitaker, you arrived? We were concerned when you didn't answer your phone." "I was swamped with work," I said. "You know how it is." She didn't know. She had never asked. Dinner was the typical performance. Expensive food. Forced laughter. Dad holding court at the head of the table. Grant making sure everyone knew about his latest contract. Harper name-dropping investors. And me, sitting quietly, just waiting. After dessert, Dad stood up and clinked his glass. "If I could get everyone's attention before we head into the living room, I'd like to share something special. A presentation on our family's future. Here we go." Everyone moved into the living room where a projector was already set up. I picked a seat in the back. My grandma caught my gaze from across the room and gave me a tiny nod. Dad went into his speech. The company's legacy. The importance of family unity. The necessity for everyone to contribute. Then Grant stepped forward with the clicker. "As many of you know, Whitaker has been pursuing alternative career paths." He grinned at me, patronizing. "We've compiled some information to help him see the big picture." The first slide appeared. Whitaker's career path. Charts displaying furniture maker salaries, national averages. My name in bullet points. $52,000 in large red letters. "As you can see," Grant added, "the ceiling for this type of art is really restricted. Meanwhile, our family company provides real growth opportunities, benefits, and stability." "That's an interesting number," I said, getting up. The room went quiet. "Where did you get this?" Grant blinked. "Industry averages, standard research." "Really?" I said. "Because according to my tax filings, I earned $165,000 last year." I pulled the packet from my jacket. "Do you want to see?" The room was silent. You could hear ice settling in cups. "I have bank statements too," I continued. "Customer testimonials. Photos of pieces I've made that sold for more than some people's cars." I walked toward the front, making sure everyone could see me. "But please, keep going. Tell everyone about my failed hobbies." Dad stepped forward. "Whitaker, now is not the time, is it?" "Isn't it?" I asked. "You set up a whole presentation, printed handouts, even made a slide called objection handling." I held up my phone. "I have photographs of everything in the printer tray. Do you want me to share them with everyone in the room?" Mom's face went white. Harper's mouth fell open. "Here's what's actually happening," I began, turning to face the gathering family. Every aunt, uncle, cousin, and family friend stared at me with wide eyes. The company is insolvent. They're losing money. And instead of admitting it, they planned to humiliate me into joining so they could use my business to bail themselves out. Gasps from the aunts. Murmurs from the cousins. One of my uncles whispered, "Jesus Christ," under his breath. "That's not true," Harper yelled. "Really?" I looked at her. "So, the firm is doing nicely? No cash flow issues, no investor concerns? Dad didn't call Grandma yesterday and ask for a loan?" Silence. Dead. Devastating quiet. My grandma stood up. Everyone in the room turned to look at her. "It's worse than that," she said, her voice piercing through the room like a knife. "I've sensed for months that something was awry with the company's finances. Richard phoned me recently, asking for a large loan. When I pressed him, he confessed that there were abnormalities." She stared directly at Grant. "For years of irregularities." Grant's face became pallid. His hand, which held the clicker, began to shake. "Your golden child has been embezzling," she added, her voice echoing around the room. And rather than deal with it honestly, they decided to drag Whitaker into their mess. Use his clean reputation, steal his client list, and fold his legitimate business into their failing one. On Christmas Eve, right in front of everyone, the room erupted. Everyone was talking at once. Accusations flew. One of my aunts stood up and started gathering her things. My cousin pulled out his phone, probably texting everyone who wasn't there. My uncle, who had always agreed with my parents on everything, stood up. "Richard, tell me right now, is this true about Grant?" Dad couldn't even look at him. My uncle grabbed his coat. "For 33 years, I defended you to my wife. It's been 33 years. He walked out. His wife followed. Then 2 more cousins. Dad tried to restore control. This is a family business. We shouldn't be discussing. You made it a family business when you planned to humiliate your son in front of everyone. My grandma snapped. You should feel embarrassed. All of you. Grant, Harper, and especially you, Richard. This youngster created something tangible while you were busy coddling a criminal. I gazed at my parents, my brother, my sister. They had spent years making me feel useless. People who assumed I would simply accept their crumbs. I built something real. I whispered gently, but everyone heard. Without your help, without your approval, without your respect. And you thought you could just take it because you needed a bailout. Mom began weeping. Dad's cheeks became crimson with shame. Grant looked like he wanted the floor to devour him. I walked toward the door. Whitaker, wait. Mom tried, grabbing my arm. I pulled away. Don't. We're finished here. I stepped outside into the chilly December night, the sound of mayhem still emanating from the home behind me. Got into my pickup and drove. 2.5 hours later, I pulled into a cabin driveway in the Poconos. My phone continually buzzed. Mom, Dad, Harper, Grant. I ignored it all. Let them panic. Let them try damage control. The truth had finally come out, and it was spreading like wildfire across the family. My grandma texted me. I'm proud of you. They are still reeling. Half of the visitors departed after 25 minutes. Your father attempted to save the evening, but no one was having it. Call me tomorrow. Another from the housekeeper, Mr. Whitaker. I packaged your items carefully. They will be in the garage when you are ready. Well done tonight. They needed to hear it. Christmas morning in the Poconos felt like waking up in another life. My phone seemed possessed. I read through messages while drinking coffee, each one more gratifying than the last. Dad, your mom is distraught. This prank reflects negatively on your judgment. We need to talk about this as a family. Harper, you have always been selfish, but this is the next step. You embarrassed us in front of all. Pathetic. Grant, do you genuinely believe you're somebody exceptional now? All you did was embarrass your family. This is not over, little brother. Not even close. That final one made me laugh. Still posturing. He still believed he had leverage. I deleted it without replying. Another message from my grandmother. Last night, half the family called me. The majority are disgusted with your parents. Several cousins want to order furnishings from you. Your aunt claims she was always aware that Richard was a phony. Well done. I stayed in the Poconos through New Year's. I used the time to plan. I devised a growth strategy, sketched out designs for new pieces, and even wrote proposals for a gallery display in New York. For the first time in years, I was able to think about the future without being weighed down by my family's constant criticism. You're going to need help, Mason told me one afternoon as we worked at the cabin table. You can't manage the demand alone. Not after what happened on Christmas. Word is going to spread. People are going to want pieces from the guy who told off his entire family. I know, I said. I'm thinking of hiring someone. Maybe 3 people, if the gallery idea works out. Are you scared? He asked. I'm terrified, I admitted. But also ready. For the first time in my life, I feel prepared. Back at Red Bank on January 4th, my workshop felt completely different. Fresh eyes. There were 27 new queries pending. A gallery in Tribeca wanted to talk about representation, and I had lunch planned with my grandma on the 10th. The old Whitaker would have been nervous about visiting family. The new Whitaker was actually looking forward to it. January 10th. A restaurant in Montclair, classy and quiet. She was already sitting when I arrived, sharp-eyed and straightforward as usual. She rose to hug me. Whitaker, you look well. Thanks, Grandma. We got through small talk swiftly. Then she put down her menu and looked directly at me. I owe you an apology, she said. For what? I asked. For not saying something sooner. I knew how they treated you. I saw it for years. Should have intervened rather than waited. You weren't part of their plan. No, but I made it possible with my silence. She took a sip of her iced tea. That's over now. I made it obvious to your parents that their actions were inappropriate. Informed your extended family that you own a reputable, prosperous business. How did they take it? I asked. She grinned faintly. Your mom sobbed. Your father became defensive. I ordered them to be calm and listen, once. I laughed. I'm updating my will, she added. You will get 45% of my estate. Your siblings divided the remaining 55%. Not recompense for their wickedness. You have merely proven yourself. Grandma, you don't need to. I am not requesting permission, she interrupted. I'm informing you. She gave me a proud smile. You remind me of myself when I was your age. Everyone had thoughts on what I should do. I disregarded them and established my own accounting practice. Best decision I've ever made. I didn't know that, I said. Your family never mentions it, she replied. Doesn't fit their story. She hesitated. I'm also investing in your business. Not charity. A legitimate business choice. 18% equity in exchange for funding to grow. I gazed at her. You're serious? Completely. I checked your website and personally contacted 4 of your clients. Your numbers are fantastic. The growth potential is significant. She grinned. You're a good investment, and I anticipate quarterly reports. I'm an involved investor. We discussed specifics over lunch. Her contribution would allow me to hire 3 more staff, upgrade equipment, and lease a proper showroom. One more thing, she said as we finished. Your mother will attempt to reach you. Apologies and manipulation. Whatever you decide, remember that you do not owe them forgiveness simply because they are family. You owe yourself respect. I'll remember that, I said. She grasped my hand. Good man. The following 3 weeks were explosive. I hired 3 men who were both talented and hungry. We set up proper procedures, managed inventories, and implemented mechanisms for tracking commissions versus gallery items. Mid-January, my phone rang. Dad. I almost didn't answer, but I was curious. Hello, Whitaker. It's your father. I know. A long silence. I'm calling because we need to discuss what happened at Christmas. How about it? I asked. You humiliated us in front of our entire family. You made accusations. I told the truth. I interjected. There's a difference. Whitaker, I realize you're furious, but you need to think about this practically. We're dealing with investor worries and cash flow challenges. Dad, why did you really want me to join the family business? More silence. I'm not stupid, I said. You aren't proposing this out of care. What is truly going on with Grant? More stillness. Then carefully. The firm is undergoing an audit. We are investigating some accounting irregularities. Irregularities? That's how we describe 4 years of embezzlement. We don't know that for certain. Grandma does. And now so does everyone else. I let it dangle there. You plan to humiliate me into joining a company that's hemorrhaging money because your golden boy stole from you, and you're too proud to admit it. That is not what this is about. Yes, it is, I said. And the answer is still no. Handle your own mess. I hung up. February brought momentum. Following our successful initial meeting, the Tribeca Gallery organized a display. My boys stepped up. 14-hour days with precise joints and impeccable finishes. Then reality struck. A Manhattan client contacted us to renegotiate a $14,500 dining table price after delivery. The finish is not what I expected. $9,500 seems reasonable. I have the signed spec sheet, I told him. Take 95, or I'll dispute the charge, he snapped, then hung up. I called a lawyer. A certified letter threatening a breach of contract action. The client paid in full within a week with a written apology. Running a business entailed battling for what you had earned. 3 weeks before the solo exhibition, things turned nasty. Grant arrived in my workshop unannounced. He just strode in like he owned the place. I was putting the finishing touches on a walnut credenza when I heard the door open. I looked up, and there he was. Same arrogant expression, same fancy suit, same bright kid, energy emanating from him like a sickness. Nice setup, he commented, glancing around. Quaint. Get out, I said. Relax. I'm here to discuss business. He picked up one of my chisels and examined it, as if he knew what he was looking for. He didn't. The auditors completed their preliminary report. Dad is in full panic mode. Mom is on Xanax. Harper refuses to stop sobbing. Still not my problem, I said. He walked by my workbench, running his finger over the edge of a piece I'd been working on for 7 weeks. 900 hours of effort. Be careful, I warned him. That's worth more than your car. His jaw stiffened. It was the first time I'd gotten a genuine reaction from him. Here's the thing, little brother, he said, placing down the chisel and looking me in the eyes. It doesn't need to be ugly. Family cares for family. You bring me in as a partner, 55/45, and we call it even. I handle operations. You do your little woodworking project. I actually laughed. Are you serious? Dead serious. I have business experience. You don't have any connections. I can take this business to a new level. You took millions from the family firm, and now you want half of my business. His expression stiffened. I did not steal anything. There were cash flow concerns, accounting with a twist. Things became complex. The auditors had a different perspective. I countered. The auditors don't know the whole story. He moved closer. I am providing you a lifeline here. Take it. Get out of my workshop. Think carefully, Whitaker. You make me an enemy. Things get tricky. I know people, investors, clients. I can make phone calls that will bury your small interest in a week. Are you threatening me? He grinned. I'm giving you options. The same patronizing smile as Christmas. 55/45. Final offer. I don't hire thieves, and I definitely don't make them partners, I said. His smile faded. You'll regret this. Get out. Now. He walked away, but something told me it wasn't over. 4 days later, it began. A client contacted me to cancel his commission. He stated that he had heard concerns regarding my business methods. Then another cancellation. Then an unfavorable review surfaced online. Someone I had never worked with alleged that I had delivered faulty items. The bogus reviews became imaginative. One person said I showed up to a delivery inebriated. Another stated I'd made a pass at some guy's wife. All of these accounts were created within 72 hours of Grant's visit. All with no history, no prior reviews, and no credibility among those paying attention. But they appeared on Google. That was what mattered to him. I called Mason. Grant's going scorched earth, I told him. Fake reviews. He's trying to undermine my reputation. Document everything, Mason said. Screenshots, timestamps, the works. Already on it. Then the calls began. Middle of the night. Blocked numbers, heavy breathing, then disconnect. 4 to 5 times every night. I started sleeping with my phone on quiet. 10 days later, I returned to my workshop and discovered the lock had been tampered with. Nothing was stolen, but the tools were moved around. A message. I am watching. That's when I called the cops. The officer sat across from me and took notes. Do you feel your brother is to blame? I'm sure he is. He threatened me about 3 weeks ago, demanded that I give him half of my business. When I declined, things started. Have you got proof? I showed him everything. Text messages. The phony review came from an account made the day after our incident. The telephone records, 2:30 a.m. surveillance footage from across the street, showed a person matching Grant's physique approaching my business. We can file a report, he told me, but without direct evidence linking him to the break-in attempt. What about harassment? What about the calls? What about business interference? He gazed at me intently. You might want to consider a restraining order, given the pattern. I filed the next day. A temporary restraining order was issued against Grant Whitaker. I had to go to court, present facts, and explain why I was concerned for my safety and livelihood. The judge studied everything. A menacing visit. Systematic harassment. An attempted break-in. Granted, she said. Mr. Grant Whitaker must keep a distance of 750 feet from the petitioner and his place of business. No contact of any kind. When Grant was served, he lost it. He called me from a burner phone, yelling about treachery, how I had ruined the family, and how he would hold me accountable. I taped the entire incident. I filed a violation report the following day. The burner phone call lasted 5 minutes. He called me every name in the book. He threatened to burn down my workshop. He said he had buddies who could make things disappear. I allowed him to speak freely. Every word recorded. Every threat documented. He was so enraged that he forgot I had always been the silent one. The calm person who listened. The calm person who remembers everything. Second court appearance. The judge was not pleased. Mr. Whitaker, she said, looking at Grant, you were clearly warned not to contact your brother. You breached the order within 24 hours. Your Honor, this is a family matter, his lawyer tried. It's a legal issue now. You are facing contempt charges. I'm extending the restraining order for 3 years and imposing criminal consequences for any future violations. Grant's lawyer attempted to argue. The judge shut him down. His lawyer looked like he wanted to escape, probably thinking how he would explain this to his other clients. Walking out of the courthouse, I felt something unexpected. Not victory, not satisfaction, just clarification. I drew a line, defended it, and won. My solo show at Forge and Grain was everything I'd hoped for. High-end area, in a remodeled warehouse. Professional lighting made each piece shine. My collection filled the entire main room. Each sculpture beautifully illuminated against bare brick walls. 7 years of labor. 7 years of being told I was squandering my life. All of it was validated in one room. I arrived early to set up. My 3 staff were already there, positioning things, confirming sight lines, ensuring everything was perfect. We had been working on this for months. "Are you ready?" one asked. "As I'll ever be," I replied. At 7 o'clock, guests began to arrive. Gallery owners from Manhattan, collectors who had flown in from as far as San Francisco, design bloggers with cameras, interior designers looking for talent. The room filled quickly. The energy was electric, palpable. I worked it organically, talking about the process, explaining methods, connecting with clients who knew what true workmanship entailed. A collector from San Francisco purchased 4 pieces on the spot, paid the asking price without bargaining. "I've been looking for someone who still does real joinery," he told me. "Everyone else is just gluing IKEA parts together and calling it bespoke." We shook hands. That one transaction covered my operational expenses for 4 months. My grandma walked in around 7:45. Alone. She caught my gaze and grinned. I walked over. "Where is the rest of the family?" I asked. "Your father and mother chose not to attend, too humiliated following Grant's court appearance. Harper remained with them." She looked around at the crowd. "Grant is already forbidden from being within 750 feet of you due to the restraining order. I heard he tried to show up, but was turned away. That was news to me. Security must have dealt with it before I even noticed." "The show looks spectacular," my grandma commented. "I'm very proud of you." "Thank you for coming," I said. "And thank you for your support during Christmas." "I wouldn't have missed either," she said, gripping my hand. "Your work speaks for itself. You do not need their permission. You never did." The show lasted until 11:30. By the time we closed, I had received orders for $79,000, not including the gallery's fee. 3 interior designers wanted to feature my work exclusively in their showrooms. 2 private clients requested unique home offices built from the ground up. April stretched into May. Grant's situation became public. Criminal charges were brought, not just for restraining order breaches, but for embezzlement. It turned out the auditors found everything. For years of forged paperwork, dummy corporations, and channeled contracts. The whole operation was detailed in court files that became public record. I watched things unfold from a distance. The family firm was losing clients faster than they could count. Civil claims from investors were stacking up. The beautiful family image? Utterly ruined. And everyone understood exactly why. My cousin forwarded me the news story. A Bergen County real estate executive has been charged with embezzlement. Grant's mugshot. Dad's firm was mentioned. $4 million in money were misdirected. The golden child had been stealing for years, and they attempted to use me to hide it. Summer brought more commissions than I could handle. We hired 5 additional employees and started turning down jobs. The brownstone job in Brooklyn generated recommendations. The recommendations resulted in magazine features. The features generated more referrals. Success builds on itself, relying on skill rather than manipulation. Late June, Mom called. First time in 7 months. This was the first time since I'd exposed them in front of everyone at Christmas dinner. I had wondered how long it would be before desperation surpassed pride. I let it ring twice before responding. "Hello, Whitaker." "It's Mom." Her tone was odd. Smaller, fragile, in a way I hadn't heard before. The lady who had spent years rejecting all I'd accomplished now sounded like she was barely keeping it together. "Can we talk?" "About what?" I asked. "Everything. What occurred during Christmas. What your dad and I did. What we did not do. The years we wasted treating you as if you were inferior." She stopped, and I could hear her trying not to cry. "I'm calling to ask for help." "What about?" "The company. The lawsuits. Grant's legal fees. Everything's falling apart," she explained. Her voice crackled. "We made errors, Whitaker. Terrible errors. But we are still family. That must count for something. You intended to embarrass me and take my business in front of everyone we knew. That is not an error. That is a strategy. We were desperate. We were afraid. We weren't sure what else to do. So after years of calling it a hobby, a phase, a sandbox, now suddenly it's valuable enough to steal?" Silence. "Whitaker, please. I understand we don't deserve it, but we need you. Your father is hardly functional. Harper is overwhelmed. Grant is facing incarceration." She paused. "We discussed it as a family. After Grant's legal difficulties are resolved, you bring him in as a partner. 55/45. He needs something to return to. He can handle operations while you work on your woodworking." I nearly laughed. The boldness was astounding. Even after the harassment, the threats, the restraining order, and the criminal charges, they still wanted me to help him. Help me comprehend this, I said. Do you want me to surrender half of my company to the brother who threatened me? The brother who hounded my clients? The brother who attempted to break into my studio? The brother I had to obtain a restraining order against? And the golden kid who wrecked everything? He is still your brother. He needs a fresh start. And frankly, you owe this family something. I don't owe you anything, I said. And I have a 3-year restraining order that states he cannot come within 750 feet of me or my company. So even if I wanted to, which I don't, it would be technically unlawful. We can work around that. Get it modified. No, I said, and actually smiled. Not furious, not bitter, just finished. I don't hire thieves, and I definitely don't make them partners. The stillness extended. When she spoke again, her voice sounded empty. I don't know what else to say. There is nothing to say, I told her. You made your decisions. You now live with them. I am not here to bail you out. I am not Grant's safety net. I am the son you rejected, and I created something substantial without you. Can we at least meet? Talk in person? No. We're done here. I hung up. Harper texted around 2.5 hours later. You are ripping this family apart. I hope you are pleased. I took a screenshot, added it to my collection. Then I returned to work on a commission for a restaurant in the Hamptons. $26,000 cash on delivery. Yeah, I was really pleased. Dad called and asked if we could meet. His voice sounded strange, defeated, broken in ways I'd never heard before. The man who was always in command, always had a plan, and understood how to manipulate a crowd. That man was gone. I agreed. A modest restaurant in Montclair, on neutral territory. This was the type of place where no one would know us. No family reputation to protect. No picture to preserve. Just two people who needed to talk about something that had been on their minds for years. He walked in appearing as if he had aged 12 years. Suit wrinkled, tie crooked. The man who had always been neatly dressed, who had lectured me on appearance and professionalism, suddenly looked like he had been sleeping in his car. He sat down heavily, as if the weight of all that had occurred was physically crushing him. Thank you for meeting me, he said. You want to talk? I asked. He nodded, ordered coffee, and drew a deep breath. Grant accepted a plea agreement last week. 24 months of federal minimum security. The family company filed for bankruptcy. We are liquidating assets, selling the estate. Everything is gone. He looked at me. I built that company for 33 years. I sacrificed everything for it. I gave up my connection with you, and it has ended. Grant wrecked everything, and I let him. I didn't say anything. Just waited. You were correct, he said, about everything. I was foolish to try to control you. It was wrong to ridicule what you've built. It was wrong to arrange that Christmas ambush. It was wrong to defend Grant when he came after you. I was wrong about everything. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because I need you to understand that you were correct to go. You created something genuine, something sustainable, something important. He met my gaze. I am proud of you, Whitaker. I should have mentioned it years ago. I am saying it now. I watched him unravel. I felt nothing at all. I don't need you to save me, he added. I don't need you to join or solve anything. I simply want you to know that I was wrong and you were correct. And I'm sorry I didn't notice it sooner. We sat there silent. Good to know, I answered. Nothing changes. We're still done. I understand, he said. Please keep your apology. I do not need it. I moved on long ago. He nodded. I figured you'd say that. He stood to leave, then turned back. Do you know what the worst part is? He asked. What? I have 2 boys. One who had the bravery to create something tangible, and one who did not. I damaged my relationship by initially attempting to dominate him. The second wrecked everything in an attempt to appease me, then blamed everyone else when it went apart. He shook his head. I picked the wrong horse, and I lost everything because of it. He left. Not vindication. Not satisfaction. Not even victory. Though I had earned that. Just a profound calm. I didn't need their approval anymore. I had already won.